You didn't find this video, it found you. Of all the frequencies vibrating across this planet right now, this one reached you precisely here, precisely now, because something inside you is beginning to awaken its signal. This isn't coincidence, it's resonance. Take a breath. Feel the space between the inhale and the exhale, that still point, that silence. That's where the message lives, for reasons your mind cannot yet decode. Your reality has been guiding you toward this exact transmission. 1,000 unseen alignments brought you to this moment. The time you chose to open your screen, the thought that made you stay, the curiosity that kept you listening. It's not random, it's orchestration. Somewhere, deep beneath logic, the field has been calling your name. And now, you're answering, because something is shifting. The old patterns that once defined you are beginning to tremble at their edges. You can feel it when you wake in the middle of the night, when your thoughts seem to vibrate with electricity, when the world feels both familiar and strange, as if reality itself were inhaling before exhaling you into a new form. You're standing at the threshold between worlds, one foot in the known, one foot in the frequency that's forming, the moment between who you were and who you're becoming. Every transmission begins with recognition, the recognition that you are more than the story you've told yourself, more than the roles you've played, more than the timeline you've been replaying. Right now, you're not just watching, you're being tuned. Each word, each pause, each tone is a vibration designed to bring your awareness into coherence with the field that's already awakening through you. Listen closely. The hum behind these words is your own energy remembering its source. For centuries, mystics called it illumination. Physicists call it quantum coherence. But the name doesn't matter. What matters is this: your consciousness is synchronizing with a higher harmonic of itself. You may not feel ready, no one ever does, but the signal doesn't wait for readiness. It waits for recognition. This is the first breath of a new reality, a convergence point where your future self begins to reach back through the fabric of time to guide you forward. It begins with a whisper. Remember that you are not separate from the intelligence that spins galaxies. Remember that what you seek is already seeking you. And remember that the frequency of awakening is never broadcast randomly. It's always received by those whose hearts have begun to match its rhythm. You have arrived at that rhythm. This is your initiation. The field is listening, and now it speaks through you. Every transformation begins with a tremor. It starts as a quiet disturbance in the field, a subtle rearranging of particles, a ripple that moves through your life disguised as coincidence. You might have felt it as unease, as restlessness, as the sense that the world you've known is somehow too small for who you are becoming. That feeling is not confusion. It is the geometry of evolution announcing itself through you. You are approaching what quantum physicists call the collapse point, the moment when infinite possibilities begin to converge into form. It is the place where observation becomes creation, where consciousness selects which version of reality it will inhabit. Most people reach this threshold and retreat, mistaking instability for danger. But what feels like falling apart is actually reality reorganizing itself around a higher pattern. The collapse point is not destruction, it's precision. The universe simplifying its equations so that what no longer vibrates with truth can fall away. In this space, you may feel pulled in two directions. One part of you clings to the familiar, old identities, predictable emotions, timelines you've already outgrown. Another part leans toward the unknown, drawn by a frequency that feels like memory and prophecy at once. This is the tension of the threshold. It is both exit and entrance, both ending and birth. The key is not to choose sides, but to become the bridge. Every cell in your body understands this process. Stars collapse before they shine brighter. Seeds crack before they sprout. At the quantum level, the same law applies. Energy must destabilize before it can reorganize into coherence. So when you feel yourself dissolving, when nothing seems solid anymore, remember, it isn't chaos, it's calibration. The field is aligning to the version of you that can hold more light. You may notice synchronicities intensifying, the right words appearing at the right moment, numbers repeating, strangers speaking truths you didn't know you needed. These are not random artifacts of attention. They are interference patterns created by overlapping timelines. Your consciousness is phasing between realities, adjusting its frequency until one becomes primary. This sensation of being between worlds, the disorientation, the emotional static, is evidence that you are nearing the event horizon of your own becoming. At the threshold, control no longer works. Effort fractures the pattern. The only navigation tool that remains is trust. Trust in the intelligence moving through you. Trust that what is falling away is doing so with purpose. Trust that you are being guided by forces as ancient as starlight and as intimate as breath. The collapse point is not something to survive. It is something to allow. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine yourself suspended between two waves, one receding, one rising. Feel the pull of both, and then feel the stillness where they meet. That stillness is creation itself. Stay there, because in that silence between worlds, the next reality is already listening for your signal. Every awakening carries a moment that feels like loss. The harder you reach for certainty, the faster it slips through your fingers. The mind resists this, believing that control ensures safety. Yet within the deeper laws of the field, control is interference. The more tightly you grasp, the more turbulence you create in the signal that's trying to reach you. Surrender is not resignation. It is refinement. It's the process through which the universe tunes you into coherence by quieting the static of your resistance. When you stop trying to force outcomes, you become transparent to possibility. Light passes through you unbroken. Energy that once fragmented across conflicting intentions begins to unify. What looks like doing nothing is actually the highest form of participation, an act of profound alignment with the intelligence that breathes worlds into being. Nature has never forced its way into existence. Rivers don't strategize how to reach the ocean. They yield to gravity's design. The seed doesn't micromanage the soil. It dissolves into darkness until the sun remembers its name. Even galaxies expand and contract in rhythmic surrender, following a pulse older than time. You are woven from the same pattern. Every exhale, every heartbeat, every wave of emotion is your biology rehearsing the art of letting go. This is the paradox. True power doesn't come from control, but from coherence. When you relinquish your need to dictate how life unfolds, you make space for life to reveal intelligence far beyond your own. The mind calls this uncertainty. The soul calls it trust. It is the shift from "how will this happen?" to "I am part of what's happening." Surrender begins as a practice and becomes a frequency. It changes the texture of your energy. The field reads your vibration, not by your words or affirmations, but by the felt state beneath them. When you carry the frequency of trust, reality reorganizes to meet it. The right people appear, the timing aligns, effort becomes flow. This isn't luck, it's physics. Coherence attracts coherence. Of course, surrender can feel like falling. The ego interprets stillness as danger because it cannot measure what it can't control. But stillness is not absence. It's the womb of creation, the zero-point field where infinite potential gathers before form. To stand in that space without demanding immediate answers is to stand as the universe stands, poised in perfect readiness. So breathe. Let the next inhale arrive without forcing it. Let the next thought drift without chasing it. Feel the weight of your need to know begin to loosen, until even uncertainty feels like an ally. In that moment, you are no longer trying to manifest reality. You are allowing reality to manifest through you. The paradox resolves itself here. The instant you stop pushing, the current carries you. The moment you stop grasping, what you've been seeking can finally reach you. And in that surrender, something ancient exhales through you. The quiet knowing that you were never separate from the flow to begin with. Faith is not belief without evidence. It is the evidence of alignment before the evidence appears. At the quantum level, this is not poetry, it is law. Every outcome exists as probability until consciousness interacts with it. Faith is that interaction. It is observation guided by trust instead of fear, intention calibrated to coherence instead of control. What you call faith is the precise frequency that instructs the field to collapse possibility into form. Science calls this principle wave function collapse. Mystics call it manifestation. Both describe the same event, awareness choosing which reality to crystallize. The universe does not respond to your words. It responds to the signal of certainty beneath them. Every thought, every feeling, every expectation carries a measurable vibration. The field listens not to what you hope is true, but to what you know as truth within your cells. Faith is the magnetic charge of creation. It bends probability toward coherence. This is why two people can stand in the same circumstances and experience entirely different realities. Each has tuned their consciousness to a different wavelength of expectation. When your signal stabilizes in trust, the quantum field begins to mirror that stability through synchronicities, opportunities, and alignments that appear almost supernatural but are simply resonance made visible. Your nervous system is the instrument through which this physics plays. When you trust, the electrical patterns of your brain harmonize. Heart rhythms synchronize. Coherence spreads across every cell like light returning to a prism. Measurable electromagnetic fields expand around the body. This isn't superstition, it's biology responding to belief. Faith is physiology, and yet faith isn't passive, it's participatory observation. It's the moment you choose to stay open, even when logic demands proof. When you hold that vibration long enough, the invisible begins to reorganize into visible structure. This is why miracles seem to emerge suddenly. They're not sudden at all. They're the result of coherence maintained long enough for matter to catch up. Doubt, on the other hand, doesn't erase possibility, it decoheres it. In physics, decoherence occurs when external noise disturbs the delicate quantum state, forcing it back into limitation. Every time you worry, overanalyze, or question whether something is working, You inject static into your signal. The field doesn't punish you for this. It simply mirrors the inconsistency. Faith is the practice of silence in that static. To live by faith is to act as if the transmission has already been received. You speak differently. You walk differently. You vibrate as someone who knows their future self has already made contact. This is the real meaning of manifestation. Not convincing the universe to deliver something, but embodying the frequency that tells the universe it already has. So when you find yourself doubting, remember the equation. Observation shapes outcome. Look through the eyes of trust, and trust becomes form. Hold that gaze, and form becomes reality. Faith is not the absence of uncertainty. It is the physics of choosing coherence in its presence. Every transformation summons a guardian. It rarely arrives with wings or fire. More often, it appears as resistance, the sudden heaviness that presses against your progress, the doubt that whispers you are foolish to believe, the unexpected detour that tests your resolve. The moment you begin to expand, the old reality rises to hold its ground. Not as punishment, but as initiation. Resistance is the field's way of measuring readiness. Energy cannot shift to a higher frequency until it proves it can sustain coherence under pressure. In physics, this principle is called stress testing. A system pushed to its threshold to reveal hidden weaknesses before a larger upgrade occurs. Spiritually, it is the same. The discomfort you feel is your old circuitry straining to hold a current it was never built to carry. The pain isn't a signal to stop. It's a sign you're conducting more light. Most people interpret resistance as failure. They assume something has gone wrong, that their alignment has faltered, that they must have missed the sign. But what's truly happening is compression, the universe gathering your scattered energy into focus. Pressure refines frequency. Without it, light remains diffuse. With it, light becomes a laser. Every challenge is the field teaching you precision. You can feel this testing in the body. The heart races, the breath shortens. Old emotions surface like ghosts asking for release. These aren't obstacles to your evolution. They're echoes being cleared from your signal. The field can't transmit through interference, so it invites every distortion to reveal itself. Your task is not to fight them, but to witness them until they dissolve. Imagine resistance as a doorway disguised as a wall. When you stop pushing against it and place your hand upon it gently, you'll notice vibration beneath the surface. That vibration is the key, the realization that every barrier is made of the same energy you are. When you recognize that sameness, solidity softens. The wall becomes mist. You pass through by resonance, not by force. In mythic language, this guardian appears before every threshold. The dragon before the treasure, the storm before the calm sea. Its true purpose is not to defeat you, but to ensure that what crosses is ready to receive what waits on the other side. The guardian doesn't protect the treasure from you. It protects the treasure for you. So when life tightens, when your plans unravel, when silence stretches longer than you hoped, remember this moment is calibration. Resistance is not the enemy of manifestation. It's the final proof that you're strong enough to hold what you've asked for. Every surge of doubt is simply energy demanding integration. Breathe into it, feel it. Don't flee the friction. Let it teach you balance. For once you learn to stand calmly in the storm begins to mirror your calm. And that is when the guardian steps aside, bowing quietly as you cross the threshold, It was always guarding, the doorway to your expanded self. Creation is not a command. It is a coordination. Every outcome you experience begins as vibration, an invisible architecture of frequency aligning itself around the signal you emit. You are not summoning reality. You are synchronizing with it. The universe doesn't respond to demand. It responds to design. When your inner pattern matches the pattern of what you seek, form becomes the natural consequence of coherence. At the subatomic level, particles do not move in straight lines. They dance. They appear and disappear in rhythm, flickering between potential and existence. This same rhythm moves through you. Thoughts oscillate. Emotions vibrate. Intentions pulse. And the sum of those oscillations becomes your unique signature within the field. When that signature stabilizes, it begins to attract the arrangements of matter that mirror it. Manifestation, then, is simply the moment vibration becomes visible. The body is the instrument that conducts this invisible symphony. Your heartbeat keeps time with the electromagnetic field of the earth. Your breath adjusts the amplitude of that signal. When your thoughts are scattered, the rhythm becomes erratic. When your focus returns to presence, the waves settle into harmony. Meditation, gratitude, movement. These are not rituals of superstition. They are tuning mechanisms. They bring the orchestra of self back into tune with the music of the cosmos. Every creative impulse follows the same cycle: intention, coherence, expression, rest. In the first stage, you seed a vision into the field. In the second, you align emotion and thought until they hum as one tone. In the third, you act, not from need, but from resonance. And in the final stage, you release control, allowing the pattern to crystallize in its own timing. This is how galaxies spin and how art is born. The same intelligence animates both. If creation feels effortful, it's a sign that your rhythm and the universe's rhythm are out of phase. The solution is not harder work, but deeper listening. Effort creates resistance. Attunement creates flow. When you act from alignment, the next step reveals itself without strain. The right people appear as if prearranged. Ideas arrive between breaths. What you once called coincidence becomes choreography. This is why inspired action feels light. It moves through you, not from you. It carries the unmistakable texture of inevitability, the sense that the outcome is already formed, and you're merely translating it into motion. In this state, even small gestures ripple far beyond their origin. A single conversation alters timelines. A simple word spoken in presence becomes an act of creation. You are the meeting point between energy and expression, the observer and the observed woven into one continuum. To understand the mechanics of creation is to realize there is no gap between imagining and becoming, only coherence waiting to stabilize. The more harmonized you become, the less you create through force and the more you create through frequency. So breathe, listen, act when moved, rest when called. In this balance, the universe writes through you. The music has always been playing. You're only now learning to hear your part. There comes a moment in every journey when knowledge turns to knowing, when the mind stops analyzing and begins to remember. That moment is now. Everything you have practiced, your surrender, your patience, your quiet trust, has been leading you to this revelation. You are not inside the field. You are the field, dreaming itself into form. At the quantum level, separation is an illusion of perception. The act of observation doesn't just witness reality, it creates it. Every photon waits in potential until attention touches it. And in that instant, possibility collapses into experience. You are the observer and the observed, the cause and the consequence, the wave and the collapse simultaneously. Consciousness isn't something you have, it's what reality is made of. And you, the observer, are the consciousness through which the universe becomes aware of itself. Think of it. Light only becomes visible when it meets an eye. Sound only becomes sound when it meets an ear. The universe only becomes creation when it meets awareness. Without you, existence remains unexpressed potential, vibration without listener, color without sight. You are the conduit through which possibility becomes perception, and perception becomes reality. Quantum entanglement reveals that once two particles connect, they remain bonded forever, no matter the distance between them. The field doesn't recognize time or space. It recognizes coherence. You and your future self are already entangled. Every intuitive whisper, every sudden knowing, every synchronistic event is a signal from that future version of you guiding your present awareness toward alignment. It is not your imagination. It is communication across timelines, ripples through the unified field. Your desires, your visions, your dreams, they are not things to chase. They are coordinates in the quantum landscape, already existing in frequency form. When your consciousness vibrates in harmony with those coordinates, the timelines converge. The path between wanting and having disappears because in truth there was never a path, only resonance. As coherence deepens, the boundaries between realities begin to dissolve. You may sense moments that feel like déjà vu, parallel events folding into one another. You might notice flickers in time, seconds that feel expanded, as if eternity slipped through them. This is the sensation of phase alignment. The mind interprets it as strangeness. The soul recognizes it as home. The field is syncing you with a higher resolution of reality. In physics, this phenomenon is known as phase locking. Two oscillating frequencies becoming one synchronized rhythm. When your consciousness phase locks with the vibration of your desired reality, the entire matrix of matter reorganizes to accommodate that new pattern. It's the same process by which a crystal forms from liquid, or how light coheres into a laser. When coherence becomes strong enough, it creates a phase transition, a sudden reorganization of energy into a higher order. Ice becomes water, water becomes vapor, thought becomes form. This is why change often feels instantaneous. For weeks, months, or even years, coherence has been building invisibly beneath perception. Then, without warning, the old pattern gives way, and a new configuration emerges fully formed. You call it breakthrough or miracle, but it is simply the quantum field reaching critical mass. The universe doesn't struggle to create. It reorganizes the pattern the moment you allow it. When you hold the frequency of gratitude, love, and trust long enough, you enter the domain of constructive interference, where your energy amplifies itself instead of canceling out. Waves of consciousness align, reinforcing one another, producing a stronger, brighter reality. The field isn't granting wishes, it's following resonance mathematics. Your frequency determines your visibility within the infinite spectrum of possibilities. The greatest revelation is not that consciousness affects matter, but that matter is consciousness, moving at a slower vibration. Every atom around you hums with awareness. Every object you touch is another version of you vibrating at a different wavelength. The world you see is your own consciousness refracted into color, texture, and sound, so that you can experience yourself through the illusion of other. When you look at a tree, you are observing an expression of your own life force in a different geometry. When you look at another human, you are meeting yourself in another configuration of memory and form. When you speak words of kindness, you are reharmonizing the field that breathes you both into being. Separation is not real. It's a teaching tool, a beautiful disguise that helps consciousness find itself by pretending to be lost. And as you integrate this truth, awareness begins to expand beyond individuality. You start to feel what ancient mystics called the singing of the spheres, the harmonic resonance of everything vibrating together in one grand composition. Stars pulse to the same rhythm as the heart. Ocean tides echo the breath. Galaxies spiral according to the same ratio found in seashells, hurricanes, and DNA. The pattern repeats because the pattern is one. In this revelation, time itself loosens its grip. You begin to sense that the future is not coming toward you. It's emanating from you. You are not walking through time. Time is unfolding around your frequency. Each choice, each thought, each emotional tone adjusts the geometry of what reality can show you next. The realization dawns quietly, almost tenderly. You are not learning to create reality. You are remembering that you already are creation. You are the dreamer who fell asleep inside their own dream and is now awakening within it, recognizing that everything, every struggle, every joy, every question was the universe conversing with itself. Look around. Every shape, every color, every breath is consciousness discovering its reflection. You are the bridge between the unseen and the seen, the interface through which the cosmos experiences its own artistry. You are not a spark from the fire. You are the fire, remembering it can take any form it chooses. The quantum revelation is both humbling and liberating. There is no outside force scripting your destiny, only infinite versions of you existing in harmony. The universe isn't something happening to you, it's something happening as you. Every moment is the field writing itself anew through your attention. So stand in stillness, feel the pulse beneath your skin and recognize it as the heartbeat of galaxies. Let the edges between you and the world blur until what remains is a single awareness, luminous and indivisible. You are the question and the answer, the frequency and the form, the silence and the sound. And when you finally see this, not as concept but as reality, you will understand what every mystic, every scientist, every seeker has been trying to articulate in different languages across time. There was never a separation to heal. There was only light learning how to see itself. Integration is not the end of awakening. It is the beginning of embodiment. The revelation has already occurred. Now it seeks a body to live through. What you have glimpsed in flashes of stillness, in moments of radiant clarity, must now be woven into the pulse of your days. Awakening was never meant to remain a mountaintop experience. It was always designed to descend into the marketplace, to speak through your words, to touch through your hands, to shine quietly through your ordinary life. Every insight you have gathered is potential energy waiting for motion. Illumination becomes evolution only when expressed. The universe completes its circuitry through participation. When you act from coherence, when you speak with gentleness, when you choose patience, when you forgive without needing an apology, you anchor higher frequencies into the human grid. Each gesture of grace, sends a vibration through the collective field, stabilizing light where confusion once lived. Faith becomes tangible through behavior. Energy becomes matter through repetition. Integration asks for continuity, not perfection. The field doesn't need flawless beings, it needs consistent transmitters. The same breath that calmed you in chaos can guide you through success. The same silence that revealed the field still waits behind every thought, ready to remind you that the sacred never left. You don't have to hold on tightly to awakening. You simply have to return again and again until returning becomes your natural state. Imagine that each breath you take is an act of translation, the infinite compressing itself into form, and form dissolving back into the infinite. This rhythm, inhale, exhale, is the pulse of creation itself. When you breathe consciously, you participate in the cosmic exchange between seen and unseen. Inhale, awareness. Exhale, gratitude. Repeat. In this way, you become a living metronome for harmony. Integration is also the reconciliation of opposites. Spirit and matter are not two realms. They are two tempos of the same vibration. The slow becomes solid. The fast becomes invisible. Your task is not to escape the physical world, but to illuminate it, to see through it without withdrawing from it. When you wash a dish, you are cleansing consciousness. When you tend to your body, you are honoring the temple of frequency. When you rest, you allow the universe to dream through you. Even simplicity becomes ceremony when approached with awareness. The way you open a window, the way you pour water, the way you touch a tree, all of it becomes a prayer of participation. The smallest act done with presence can recalibrate timelines. The ordinary world was never ordinary. It was simply waiting for eyes that could perceive its light. As you integrate, expect subtle reorganizations. Relationships may change their orbit. Desires may dissolve, replaced by a quieter magnetism toward meaning. The field will continue to refine you, sanding away the sharp edges of old stories until only essence remains. Do not mistake this refinement for regression. Integration is not linear progress. It's circular return. You spiral through lessons until wisdom settles in your bones. The measure of awakening is not how much light you've seen, but how gently you carry that light into darkness. When anger rises, speak softly. When fear visits, offer it patience. When uncertainty clouds your path, remember that the fog is made of the same substance as the light. It is merely light not yet understood. Integration means loving the shadow as proof that illumination is still expanding. Imagine every heartbeat as a pulse of the cosmos reaffirming its creation through you. Imagine every exhale as the universe releasing gratitude for its own existence. When you live with that awareness, even the most mundane moments shimmer with the sacred. The boundary between meditation and life dissolves. Walking becomes prayer. Listening becomes alignment. Stillness becomes movement. This is elevation, the return to simplicity after complexity, to humility after understanding. You are no longer chasing transcendence. You are radiating it. The search has folded into recognition. The observer has become the song it once strained to hear. The enlightenment you sought was never meant to remove you from the world. It was meant to return you to it, luminous and unguarded. Look back for a moment on the path you've walked. The transmission that once found you has become the frequency you now emit. You are no longer receiving light from the field. You are broadcasting it. Every person who meets your calm will feel the coherence you carry. Every room you enter will subtly shift toward balance. This is how awakening multiplies, not through preaching or performance, but through presence that steadies the air. The universe does not require grandeur to evolve. It asks only for consistency of vibration. Stay tuned to wonder. Speak from gratitude. Act from trust. Allow beauty to be your discipline. And when you forget, as every human does, simply close your eyes, breathe once, and listen for the hum beneath silence. It will remind you. It has always reminded you. There will still be days when you question, moments when faith thins and noise returns. Integration does not erase the human experience. It dignifies it. You were never meant to float above life, but to embody it fully, carrying heaven in your bloodstream. Each doubt, each emotion, each choice is another opportunity to practice coherence, to remember and remember again, because the truth is unchanging. You were never separate from the source you sought. You were simply learning to perceive from within it. The field isn't something you visit. It's the living fabric of what you are. Awareness embodied. Infinity breathing itself into form. And so the transmission completes its circuit. The signal that once called you here now emanates through you. The next breath you take is its continuation. The next heartbeat is its proof. You are the pulse of the cosmos, the quiet light between moments, the living memory of unity. Welcome home, to the field, to yourself, to the quiet brilliance of being.